Welcome to Screen Hollywood, the home of movie news and entertainment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
What's up, movie fans, and welcome back to Screen Hollywood. I'm your host, Adam. If you're new here, join the Hollywood family and hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, and hype button, and bookmark our news site at screenhollywood.com. The time has come. The social media embargo has lifted, and the first reactions for the biggest cinematic event of the year have officially crash-landed online. Yes, we are talking about James Cameron's Avatar: Fire and Ash. For the last decade and a half, James Cameron has operated on a different level from every other filmmaker on the planet. He doesn't just make movies, he creates global events that bend the box office to his will. And now, he's inviting us all back to Pandora for a third time. The film officially releases on December 19th, but a select group of journalists have seen the 3-hour and 15-minute epic, and they have a lot to say. So today, we're going to break down these glowing first reactions. We'll talk about the new elements, the returning cast, and the sheer spectacle of it all. But this is Screen Hollywood, and you know we have to dig a little deeper. I'm also going to give you my brutally honest perspective as someone who has always respected the Avatar phenomenon, but has never been a true disciple of the franchise. We're going to talk about the box office challenge and the one curious, nagging question about this franchise that no one ever seems to talk about. So, let's dive in. Let's get the big picture out of the way first. The initial wave of reactions is, to put it mildly, stunningly positive. Overwhelmingly so. It seems James Cameron has, once again, delivered a cinematic experience that has left critics in awe. But we all know general audience response will be key here. Fandango's Eric Davis, a veteran in this space, called Fire and Ash a phenomenal movie-going experience, and described it as the biggest of the 3 Avatar films so far. He calls it action-packed, visually jaw-dropping, and rich with themes of family, legacy, and survival. He also notes that while it feels like a conclusion to a trilogy, it also leaves the door open for future adventures. Courtney Howard, who writes for outlets like Variety, was even more effusive. She says Cameron still has the sauce and calls the film a glorious saga. Bold, brilliant, and awesome in every way. This is what movie theaters were built for. That last line is the key, isn't it? That's the entire brand of Avatar. A movie so big, so spectacular, that it demands to be seen on the biggest screen possible. Perry Nemiroff from Collider echoed that sentiment, saying she still can't get over how magical the #Avatar movies are, and that Fire and Ash truly feels like a ride. This is the consistent praise we hear time and time again. It's not just a movie, it's an immersive experience. Now, let's address my position on this franchise, because I think there's a faction of you who probably feel the same way. I have nothing but respect for the success of Avatar. The numbers are undeniable. The technological achievements are groundbreaking. But I have never been a true believer, a disciple of Pandora. For me, the special effects, as incredible as they are, often give me video game vibes. There are moments of breathtaking beauty, but then there are other shots where I can't help but think, that would make a really nice animated screensaver on my laptop. And that brings me to the biggest challenge this film faces. It will be incredibly impressive if Fire and Ash can match the monumental success of the first 2 films. And I don't think that will be as easy as people assume. Avatar isn't new anymore. The novelty of groundbreaking 3D that drove the first film's success has worn off. We're in a different era now, a streaming era, and I think a lot of people who aren't hardcore fans might be content to wait and watch this one at home. Don't get me wrong, this movie is absolutely going to kill it at the box office. It will be one of the biggest films of the year, without a doubt. But will it cross that mythical $2 billion line a third time? I have my doubts. And this leads me to the most curious thing about this franchise. Something I've always observed. For a series that contains 2 of the highest grossing films of all time, it has a surprisingly small cultural footprint. Think about it. When Avatar is not in cinemas, when there isn't a new installment on the horizon, it almost feels like it doesn't exist. It's heralded as an all-time great, but it's never referenced or talked about in pop culture the way other Titans are. You still hear people quoting Terminator, Goodfellas, or The Shawshank Redemption. You see memes and references to Titanic and Jurassic Park every single day. Those films are woven into our cultural DNA. Based on this, I have always said, Terminator 1 and 2 is still James Cameron's greatest films, not Avatar. Hell, I even prefer Aliens. Why? Because they have a living, breathing soul, and it's echoed in our culture. Avatar isn't. I know I will get a ton of hate for saying this, but that's my opinion. Avatar, for all its financial success, seems to occupy a different space, a shallow space. It's an event you go to see, like a fairground ride you are wowed by, and then you forget about it until the next one. It's a fascinating phenomenon. Is it because the characters, while likable, aren't as iconic? Is it because the world of Pandora is so alien, so oversaturated with colors that it doesn't connect with our everyday lives? It's just an observation, but a telling one. Now, back to the reactions. One of the criticisms of The Way of Water was that it felt a bit like a retread of the first film's story beats. A couple of the early reactions for Fire and Ash hint at this as well. Rachel Leishman from Collider says that while it's a spectacle, it did feel like just another Avatar movie. Mike Ryan noted that a couple beats were repeated from the previous film, before hilariously adding, "Whatever. For over 3 hours I was on a different planet." And that seems to be the consensus. Even if the story follows a familiar path, the execution is so spectacular that most critics don't seem to mind. And there are some major new elements this time around. We are finally being introduced to the Ash Clan, the Fire Na'vi, who are being set up as a more antagonistic force. Mike Ryan specifically praises the new cast member Una Chaplin, calling her demonic as the evil Fire Na'vi. This is a fantastic addition, giving us a look at a different, more aggressive side of Na'vi culture. The great David Thewlis also joins the cast, reportedly as the leader of another new clan. Of course, the whole gang is back. Sam Worthington as Jake Sully, Zoe Saldana as Neytiri, Stephen Lang as the seemingly immortal Quaritch, and Sigourney Weaver. The supporting cast, including Kate Winslet and Cliff Curtis from The Way of Water, are also returning, solidifying this as a true, sprawling family saga. Ultimately, these first reactions paint a very clear picture. James Cameron has delivered another technically flawless, visually stunning, and emotionally resonant blockbuster. It's an epic on the grandest scale, designed to pull you out of your world and into his for over 3 hours. The story might not reinvent the wheel, but the ride itself is so breathtaking that you won't care. For the true believers, this is everything you've been waiting for. For skeptics like me, it's another chance to be wowed, even if we're not fully converted. The real test will be if that wonder can translate into another $2 billion run, and, perhaps more importantly, if it can leave a lasting mark on our culture this time around. What do you think? Are you a disciple of Pandora, or a respectful observer like me? And do you agree with my take on Avatar's cultural footprint? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Screen Hollywood, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. I'm Adam, and I'll see you at the movies.